This is a warning to anyone thinking about buying a bike through SuperBike Factory or using first response finance. What happened to me is something I wouldn't wish on anyone, and I want to make sure no one else falls into this trap. Within 6 weeks, my dream bike turned into a financial nightmare involving engine failures, false accusations, a dodgy recovery service, and being left with over £8,500 in debt. Here's how they did it. It all started when I financed a bike through SuperBike Factory using first response finance. Everything seemed straightforward. Decent bike, monthly payments, and I thought I was in good hands. But less than 30 days after the purchase, the bike had broke down. It had oil and coolant issues. It took them nearly 3 weeks to even collect it, and another 3 weeks to repair and return it. A few weeks after getting the bike back, the engine failed again. At this point, I'd had enough. I told them I wanted to return the bike. SuperBike Factory collected it, but then claimed it had been in an accident, all because of a couple of minor scuffs on the right bar end and foot peg. I explained clearly that the bike had been blown over by heavy winds outside my house. It had crash protectors on the wheels, bars and engine, so no cosmetic damage at all, but they didn't want to hear it. They brought in a third-party company called Scotia to inspect the bike. That inspection supposedly took 6 hours, but it still took 3 weeks to get back to me. Their conclusion that the bike had been in a crash and they weren't liable for anything, including the engine failure, which they now claimed was due to supposed accident. So at that point, I contacted the Ombudsman to find out what help, if any, was available. While I was still waiting on a proper response from SuperBike, Sos Recovery contacted me and said the bike was ready for delivery. I couldn't get hold of anyone at SuperBike Factory to confirm this, so I asked SOS directly, is the bike fixed? 2 different staff members at SOS told me yes, that the bike was repaired and was in 100% working order, so I agreed to have it delivered. The driver arrived, and right away I could tell something wasn't right. The bike hadn't even been cleaned. It looked untouched. When the driver tried to start it, it wouldn't start. He had to jump start it with leads. Once it started, he held the throttle at around 10,000 RPM for about 10 to 15 seconds. That's when the engine completely blew up, right there in front of both of us. He immediately called it in and then loaded the bike back onto the van and took it away again. After the engine blew up during delivery, I immediately contacted SOS Recovery. I asked them to provide a written statement of what happened that day, because I needed proof that it wasn't my fault. They messed me around for weeks. Eventually, I got through to a manager, and instead of helping me, argued with me. He tried to belittle me on the phone and told me that he couldn't give me anything in writing because he had been advised not to by SuperBike Factory. This is straight up fraudulent behaviour. There's no other way to describe it. Not long after, SuperBike finally contacted me, but instead of resolving the issue, they gave me an ultimatum. Either collect my broken bike or pay £250 to have it delivered back to me, even though it now had a blown engine and hadn't been repaired properly. After all that, I tried explaining everything to First Response Finance. They told me outright that they have a strong relationship with SuperBike Factory, that they deal with them on a daily basis. So even after everything I'd gone through, 2 major breakdowns, false damage claims, a blown engine and no resolution, they sided with the dealer. I was left making payments on a bike I barely got to ride. Eventually I heard back from the ombudsman, but they told me they couldn't help because SuperBike Factory isn't financially regulated since it's just a retail company. So in the end, First Response Finance auctioned off my bike for around £1,500, and I still owe over £8,500 for a bike I barely had 6 weeks of working use out of. This is how these companies operate, and unless people start speaking up, they'll keep doing it to others. If this has happened to you, whether it's SuperBike Factory, Sos Recovery or First Response Finance, leave a comment, share this video and reach out. Ultimately, please give this comment a like to help the channel. We need to hold them accountable, and I'm just getting started.